Okay, it says I'm live. I'm going to give it a couple of seconds here. If somebody could let me know if you can see me, hear me, all those good things, that would be much appreciated. And I want to make sure the video kicks over on my end, and it did. Fantastic. Dan, good to see you. Ranger, good to see you as well. Looks like there's some other people out there. Shout out if you want to. I'd appreciate that. Ranger was saying, testing the AXG Legion. I'm assuming 365 Legion, flawless 500 rounds in, not a hiccup. That's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I've had nothing but good experiences with mine. I do not have 500 rounds in it, but yeah, it's been great so far. What a fantastic firearm. I truly have been very impressed. In fact, we finally got one for sale at Centerfire, and I assume that will be picked up very quickly because they're a hot gun. They're still very desired. So pretty excited to see that. And then he also said that you picked up the FN Reflex. Some people were having some failure to feeds, low left accuracy. First 100 rounds, you had 2 failure to feeds. After that, 400 rounds, no failure to feeds. Accuracy was spot on. So you were great to do testing. I mean, that's all part of it. And as you guys already know, I am kind of a believer of a break-in process with firearms. I just think it's a good thing to do. Make sure that runs with the ammo that you prefer, especially if it's a defensive handgun. But then also just make sure the darn thing works, right? And occasionally you have to work out some kinks, make sure everything fits together properly. Metal has to marry together a little bit. There are always little idiosyncrasies or burrs or various things that have to get worked out, and so that's great. I'm glad the next 400 rounds were flawless. So saying you're going to get another 500 through it, and then it'll be your new EDC. That is a quite a testing regiment, but I very much appreciate that. It's not a bad thing to do. It really isn't. So I think that's a smart play for sure. So real quick, I want to say hello to everyone. Looks like people are kind of filing in. I might have a guest. We might have somebody pop in a little bit later on. I don't know who it might be. I've invited a couple of people. We'll see if anybody has time to join. So that might be kind of fun, mix things up just a little bit. But I hope everybody had a great week and had a great Sunday. Absolutely beautiful here. I spent, not quite 3 hours, almost 3 hours outside working, doing all sorts of various things in the yard and working out and washing the car and all that kind of thing, just enjoying the sun, getting a little vitamin D. So I hope it's warm where everyone else is. I mean, I think it was 80-ish here, which is great. That's about my threshold. When it starts getting warmer than that, I get pretty cranky. I'm a winter kid. I like it cold. But 80 degrees is kind of nice, shorts and a t-shirt from time to time. So can't complain entirely too much. But again, hopefully everybody's had a great day for sure. Brent, good to see you. Silverback, good to see you. Keith Gregory, good to see you, my friend. It's been a little while. Always fun to see you out in the crowd. Brian Rhodes, good to see you. Robert, good to see you as well. All right, Mateo, Captain Phil, Brian, good to see you. Pistol Pete, hello, my friend. Hello, hello. Let's see. So, Brian, do you work at the same FFL as Golden Web, who does the AR bum down videos? No, I do not. I don't know who that is, actually. I'm going to have to check out that person's videos. I'm assuming that person's on YouTube, but unless I have a coworker at Centerfire that is not telling anybody that he or she works on videos as well. So, but no, I don't think so. I think I've been the only YouTuber there, for better or for worse. But anyway, no, you've piqued my curiosity, though. I'll go check out Golden Web. So anyway, very interesting. So Dan O'Neill, Gun Sanders did a video, bad spring and rust in new gun mag. He shot it out of the box. Proof why you shouldn't. Okay, so just doing kind of a roundabout, right? Make sure everything looks good. Get it all cleaned up. Take things apart where you can, where applicable, based on recommendations, of course. Make sure that things run. It's not bad advice. It really isn't. So, and you never know when there might be an error in manufacturing that can happen at any time. So yeah, check out your gear. I can't tell you how many times I've had people come up to the counter and say their gun isn't working for whatever reason, and the very first thing I ask them is this a new gun? They'll say yes. Okay, cool. Did you take it apart? Did you clean it? Did you oil it? That sort of thing. And almost always the answer is no. They didn't. And and we've talked about this before. I know a lot of people are of the opinion you should be able to take the firearm out of the box and just start shooting with it. And in some cases you can, right? Like Glocks. Glocks are pretty notorious for that. And I think part of it is the tolerances are pretty loose, pretty forgiving. And they put that kind of copper stuff in there. A lot of people think that's really good to run through it for a while, and the manufacturer recommends it. But generally speaking, I'm of the opinion, take the darn thing apart, get any of the packing grease or packing oil out of it, because that stuff generally is not designed to really run with the firearm in use when you're firing it, as it is for packing and storage. So clean that stuff out. Get your preference of oil and solvents and do all of those things. Your ritual cleaning, whatever that happens to be, at least for that first time. And also check to make sure that everything visually looks sound. I think that's a really good idea. And I think it's going to lend to more fun at the range, even if it's not a defensive handgun or rifle or shotgun or whatever it is. If it's not a tool, but just something for funsies, I think it's a really good idea just to go ahead, take it apart, clean it, and whatever your ritual is. So anyway, Dan, thanks for the thoughts on that, man. Brent, 45 degrees and raining here in Hartford, Connecticut. Oof, man. Yeah, you and I are a little bit of a world apart in that regard. But hopefully it'll warm up for you, unless you like the rain and 45 degrees, in which case I hope it stays like that for you. Brian, beautiful weather for the Masters this year. The golf course looked amazing. Yeah, I caught a few minutes of it on Saturday. It was on the TV. I didn't really pay too much attention, but it did look pretty good. It did for sure. It's a beautiful course, no doubt about that, in Augusta, Georgia. So Brent, Golden Webb lives in Kentucky. Okay, there you go. That's a long way from Kansas. So, but I guess they both start with K. So there is that for sure. Paul, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Let's see. Steve B, I never made it to the show. Instead, I had to go buy a new car to replace my wife's Impala. A drunk driver totaled it in a parking lot. Oh my gosh. Hopefully nobody was hurt. That's the most important thing, right? You never want anything like that to happen to you or your stuff. But hopefully nobody was hurt. That's the most important thing. There's nothing worse. I mean, somebody who's out of control. That's terrible, man. I'm sorry you went through that. I really am. And hopefully they'll pay for it. Brian, check out this, his bum down videos, or burn down videos, or rather bum down. Got that? Burn down videos. Many will surprise you. I'm sure about that. No doubt about it. Darren, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Mateo, it's a fantastic 81 degrees here. Yeah, you and I are, I think, close enough. Yeah, 81. That was about what it was here too. So amazing. Brent, Golden Webb, Ben Webb. Yeah, okay. Gotcha. Steve B. Drunk, right? Floridian, hello, KS and everyone. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Let's see, Pistol Pete. I've seen people size up some nice stainless DW 1911s for not field stripping and oiling it up. Let's see, I've seen people, seize up. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's exactly right. They need to be cleaned, oiled, all that. 1911s especially, good quality ones. Tolerances are a little bit tighter. You need good quality oil on that, for sure. I'd be curious to know what people use, what all of you guys use for oils. I've got a fairly large collection of various things. I've never really settled on any one brand or any one type or anything like that. I kind of flip-flop around a little bit. Right now, I've been using Lucas oil. Seems to do fine for me. But anyway, Brent, it was 70 degrees when I flew out of KCI this morning. Okay, fair enough. Do you live here? Is that the thing? But and it's so funny. We all call it KCI, isn't it? MCI. I don't know, but anyway, yeah, it was beautiful. I mean, I got outside. I was outside by a little after 8 o'clock this morning, and it was fantastic for sure. Anyway. Let's see, Brian, I'm from upstate New York, but unfortunately right now I'm down in California for work. I hate the heat and love the cold. Okay. So sorry guys, man after my own heart. That phone might ring a couple of times. That was actually my parents. Hold on, let me mute this. I apologize. They love to call when I'm doing a live stream. That's kind of a thing for them. For whatever reason. Stevie, it was parked. Yeah, okay, so nobody was in the car, so that's good. I'm glad for that. Very thankful for you there. But again, I hope things work out for you. That's a crappy situation. Yeah, Scott 79. Hey, Scott. Pray the drunk driver had insurance. I hope so as well. Captain Phil, 81 here in Eastern Washington. Okay, all right. Pistol Pete, I like the Lucas oil and Ballistol for cleaning. Nice. Okay, fair enough. I've never tried Ballistol or Ballistol, however you want to say it. I just had never tried it before, but I hear good things, and it's been around for freaking ever. So anyway, Brent, I live in KC on the north side near Liberty. Okay, cool, man. Cool. We're kind of on the opposite end of the world in terms of Kansas City, but yeah, I've been to Liberty many a time. Let's see, Captain Phil, accuracy oil that I heard about from Humble Marksman is what I use along with whatever else is in the garage. Okay, accuracy oil. I'm not familiar with that one, so that's good. I watched a video the other day, and the guy was just really harping on gun butter. I'm not familiar with that one. That's a new one on me. So if any of you guys have tried that, let me know. But he just could not say enough nice things about it. So, but accuracy oil, and of course, Humble Marksman knows his stuff. He knows he runs guns pretty hard. So if that works for him, that's good. Anyway, Dan, rim oil, 2-cycle Valvoline, Mobile One. Okay. All right. Well, it's, it'll keep the engine running for sure. See what I did there. Let's see, Scott 79. I use Break Free CLP and Slip 2000 mostly. And that's another one, Slip 2000. Of course, Break Free I've used many a time. Slip 2000 I've never used either. I've known it's been out there for a long time and have just never done it. So I need to try that at some point. Build the oil collection. I could oil all of our guns for the rest of our lives, just so you know. I mean, I am so weird about that. I pick up a little thing of oil, a little needle thing, constantly. Like I have some fear that I'm going to run out. It's an illness, apparently, an oil illness. So there's that. Let's see, Brent, you're correct. KCI is officially MCI, but yeah, none of us call it that, right? We all call it KCI, which makes more sense. It definitely does. Ranger 10, did anyone see the Holloway Gathy UFC? Oh, okay. So UFC fight last night. It was an insanely fun to watch fight. Okay. Yeah, I'm not a UFC person. As you guys know, I'm not really a sports person per se. So I did not. I hope it was fun. I hope you had a good time watching it. I hope there were a lot of beat ups and various things that go on in that. Lindy too. Good to see you. Good to see you. Parts by Teddy. It's been a while, man. Hope you're well. Hope you're well. Let's see, Brent Sauer. In regard to gun lubrication products, I use G96 and Lucas products. Okay, all right. Again, G96. That's another one I'm not sure I've ever heard of before, but Lucas, yeah. I've been kind of playing around with that, and it seems to do just fine. At the end of the day, obviously, I want the firearm to work when the oil's in it, and also I look to see, especially. And in fact, I've got a couple of guns on the table right now, one of which I haven't really handled in probably, I don't know, 5-6 months, something like that. And I rack the sight. I always do. The very first thing I do, of course, to check to make sure the firearm is clear, even though I don't store any guns in the safe loaded. I've got some accessible if I need to, but nothing loaded in the safe. But anyway, always check it. But I also look at the rails. I'm just curious to know if the rails are dry or not. And that's kind of a good testament, or a good litmus test, I should say, for the types of oils that I look for. I want something that's got some staying power, especially if I'm not going to mess with it for a while. And Lucas seems to do the job. Another one that the company's gone now, but I've got a lot of their stuff, Rand, CLP, and their, it was the Boar, I forget what it's called, Boar something or other, cleaner. They were fantastic. I was really too bad that they went away. I thought their product was really good. And I have run off and on for a very long time their CLP. I've always had good luck with it. So anyway, let's see. Looney Tune Weapon Shield is my go-to. Yep, I've played around with that a little bit. I think I have some downstairs. I think I inherited that from a friend of mine at Centerfire. But it seems to do pretty well. I think I've still got some of their oil and maybe a thing of grease of theirs, actually. Even though I like grizzly grease, you can get it on Amazon. It's actually really good, and it smells fantastic because that's very important, obviously. But that seems to do very well, especially internally on some of the internal fiddly bits that you don't normally, it's not part of this field stripping, but if you like to tinker like I do, some very amateur gunsmithing type of things with triggers and various things, I'll get a little bit of grizzly grease on parts, very, very thin layer, and then kind of wipe it back off just enough to where it kind of seeps in the middle a little bit. And that seems to do really well. I've had good luck with that. So anyways, pistol bead, I will use TW25B grease in some situations as well. Nice, nice. I need to get some lithium grease, actually. I'd like to kind of play around with that a little bit. I never have. I had a huge bottle of it. I inherited from someone. I don't know, because people know that I like cleaning products. And then I ended up, I think, donating it to Centerfire. So probably shouldn't have done that. But, you know, hindsight's 2020. Looney Tin, what's your opinion on the HK45 LEM versus now you're saying the the 1911, but the 1911. I hopefully, if you need to correct something in there, let me know. But HK45 is a good gun. I'm an HK fan, as you know. As far as plastic fantastics go, HK is kind of my go-to for the most part, with some exceptions. Actually, I have one sitting here in front of me, the PX4 Storm Compact. The compact carry, I should say. But generally speaking, HK. So I've had an HK45. I went the USP route, and that's the one that I ultimately kept. The HK45 I ended up letting go. But it was a fantastic gun. I ran it suppressed, never had an issue with it. So yeah, I wholeheartedly approve on that one. Definitely do. Steve B, Project Farm did a test on gun oils. Lucas is good. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad to hear that, because I've got several bottles of it. So hopefully it's good. Otherwise, that's going to be a gigantic waste. Let's see. Brian, let's see. The eye gouges were ridiculous. And you're talking about the UFC stuff, apparently. Yeah, sounds like fun. Let's see. Darren, still using hops or hoppies. Hops, people say it two different ways. But Lucas Oil makes some good stuff from what I've heard. Hops has just been my go-to. My dad always used it. Well, yeah, they've been around forever, man. I remember cleaning guns when I was a kid, and we'd use the hop stuff or hoppy stuff, and the solvent. Oh my gosh, it just reeks. But you know, there's a little bit of nostalgia there, right? When you open that bottle, and hopefully don't spill it. Because that smell will stay around for a very long time. But yeah, they've been doing it for a long time. They do pretty well, for sure. Anyways, the Scottish American, good to see you. Good to see you. Scott 79, I picked up one of the PSA micro daggers with the comp sight. Oh man, very, very cool. 150 rounds, no malfunctions. Let's see, in one good, so far good, one go. So sorry. So far good. The hinge trigger has to go, probably going to put an Overwatch precision trigger in it. Okay, very good. Well, I'm glad you got one. Thanks for letting me know. As you know, that's one of the few that I'm kind of eyeing a little bit. I wouldn't mind trying one just for funsies, because there's kind of a cheaper alternative to the macro, especially the macro Legion. But anyway, I'm glad to hear about that. Thanks for sharing. Very cool. Did you go just black, or did you go one of the colors? I'd be curious about that. Brian, yes, how many rounds do you think you shoot a year? Well, here's the thing. Things changed a lot when I had surgery on my left hand. So, I mean, I didn't shoot at all for, I don't know, 8 months probably during that time. So last year there was almost no shooting. I finally started really shooting a little bit more this year, although kind of inching my way up back into it. But at my height, heyday, 1,500 a month, maybe sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. But I'd say I averaged 1,500 rounds a month. And a lot of that was rounds that I was filming for YouTube. So if I had not been doing YouTube, I probably wouldn't have been shooting quite that much. Probably would have been, 500 to 1,000 maybe, because that's about what I was doing prior to YouTube for, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years. And again, give or take, there were times where I wasn't shooting or was shooting a little bit more. And if I had friends with me or anything like that. So it would vary a little bit. But again, I'm hoping to kind of get back up into realistically, time-wise, maybe 500 a month would be kind of a nice goal, but I'm not there yet. Not there. Still working out some kinks with the hand. That's going to be a long journey with me, I think. But being able to use the heavier guns, and I've talked about this on previous live streams, has been a real godsend for me. The DWX full size and the compacts are great too, but the DWX full size, Shadow 2, of course, that's a legend. P226, the X5s of various sorts, whether it's the Legion or stainless, even the 320 AXG Legion, things like that. Some of those bigger guns that just kind of eat up a little bit of the recoil. I can stabilize a little bit easier because I've got some kind of shaky quirks that I deal with. So that helps. So hopefully that answers the question. And again, it really went from a pretty reasonable amount to basically nothing for a while. So I spent a lot of time talking about it and showing students and that sort of things. I'm an instructor, but not really practicing what I was preaching a little bit, unfortunately. So a lot of it was going off of muscle memory and just a whole lot of rounds down range prior to that point. So yeah, being able to get out and shoot again when I can has been fantastic and to a degree therapeutic as well. So anyway, again, the goal is to get out and do more when I can. But I also wish cost would come down because ammo is still expensive. And I mean, it's almost twice as much as it was when I was shooting at the height of the ammos I was putting down range, because I could buy 2 cases a month and it wasn't that big of a deal. But now 1 case a month costs basically the same as 2. So it's just kind of a pain there a little bit. So anyway, Scottish American best gun oil is Mepro Impro, I think Impro 7. Okay, fair enough. I'm not familiar with that one either. Apparently being a collector and a hoarder of oils and solvents, I feel bad that I haven't heard of some of these. Anyways, so Brian, let's see, what did you pay for that gun? Thinking my sister would do well with that handgun. So yeah, he's gonna definitely have to answer that. Oh, he did. Okay, $359 ship. So that, I mean, isn't that incredible? $359. It's got a comp on it, and it's the slide comp, right? It's not a bolt-on comp or anything like that. And my preference is a comp on the slide. So that's tremendous. Really allows people to be able to afford things like that. That's great. That's cool. So Pistol Pete, don't buy Ballistol, then. It smells like licorice vomit, but I like it. Fair enough. I hate licorice. I hear their little trivia about me. I can't stand licorice. I don't even like red licorice, but I certainly don't like black licorice. Even as a kid, and when I was growing up as a little kid, that was a very popular candy. My dad's funny. He loves it. I just think it's absolutely awful. Never been a fan. Scott 79, it felt like it had a lot less recoil than my 365 XL. I mean, yeah, that kind of makes sense a little bit. Now, do you feel like, because is there more grip on it, right? On the dagger, the micro dagger? Because the XL is the 12 round magazine. So it's kind of the midway point between the macro and the original 365. So I've always felt like I can basically get a full grip on the XL as long as it's got the kind of little extension on the magazine. Then it's fine. But is the micro dagger a little bit closer to maybe a 43X? In which case, there is definitely more surface area to grab. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people actually really like the 43X and the 48. Just a little bit more grip there, which makes sense. But then also the macro as well. All right, Campville HK45C is one of my favorite EDC pistols. One of my EDC pistols. I don't know why I said favorite. That's cool. That's a big gun. Even the C is still a pretty big gun. I'm impressed. Very cool. Very cool. Paul House, someone gave me a bottle of Shooter's Lube and it's worked out great, and no smell. Yeah, the smells don't necessarily bother me too much. I think a lot of it depends on the environment you're in. I've been rebuilding the garage as a workspace, yeah, I just want to make sure that it was very enjoyable down there, and ventilation, that sort of thing. So the smells don't really bother me a bit. Oy. All right, so I need to play a little catch up here for a moment. Oh, GB Guns. Well, GB, thank you very much, man. Really appreciate it. Keep up the good work. Will you do the same? You're doing much better work than I am. We're just sitting here, a group of friends sitting around the campfire having a good time talking. But thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And you keep up the good work as well, my friend. If there is anyone in this room right now that is not watching GB's videos, do yourself a favor and do it. You absolutely should. He's got one of the best channels out there, bar none. So thanks again, brother. I really appreciate that. I need to have you on here. So we need to collab very soon. So let's talk after this. Let's see. Scott79, HK, LEM triggers suck. I had one P30 and nothing, did not group. And it had a horrible trigger. Really, man. I'm sorry to hear that. So I've got a couple of P30s. I love them, and they're the V1 LEM triggers. Now I did the SRT, so did a little smithing on them to shorten up the reset a little bit. I don't think I did anything else. I don't think I did any hammer spring work. I normally do hammer spring work in the USPs because they're a little bit more until you kind of fix them up a little bit. But the P30s, I've had nothing but great luck with. So I'm sorry to hear that. That's too bad. Kind of breaks my heart a little bit. But it happens, right? It definitely can happen. Pistol Pete, suppressors are flying off the shelves these days. Shorter wait times, I guess. Tax should go away. The tax should absolutely go away. I 100% agree with you. It's just ridiculous that we have to do that. You should be able to do a 4473 for a suppressor just like you do anything else. In fact, I don't even think you should have to do that. It's just an accessory. Just, if you can legally own a firearm, you should be able to have a suppressor without any issue whatsoever. Anyways, but they are flying off the shelves. In fact, it's been hard to have some of those conversations with people when they come in because we're a suppressor dealer and SOT and all that kind of thing. And unfortunately, when people, want a lot of cans, we know that a lot of the distribution channels are out right now. We're a silencer shop, a dealer, a platinum dealer, or whatever it is. And the inventory is basically nil right now. So people aren't able to get what they want. And that's a product of social media doing its thing, right? And saying, hey, right now the wait times are down. So everybody goes out and gets one. And that's great for a nanosecond. But a couple of things happen. First, the inventory goes down so people can't get what they want. But then also, I have a feeling those wait times are going to go back up just a little bit. I really do. I think they're going to, because there's this huge influx now of new forms that have to be approved. Now I could be wrong. You guys can tease me later on down the road if I prove to be wrong. And if I'm wrong, that's great. I hope I am wrong. But I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. So anyway, if you're interested in suppressors, I would still encourage you to go out and start kind of investigating what you want and that sort of thing. If you have questions about pistol suppressors, I'll help you in any way I can. I'm not an expert on rifle suppressors. I do have a couple, but I stuck with one brand, very basic type stuff, Yankee Hill, which I like. I think they're great, but again, there are other options, probably more stout options than that. So anyways, but yeah, if you have questions, let me know. But do some research, but be expecting to wait to get what you want right now, unfortunately. So Curly, good to see you, man. 8 days for my last suppressor. Yeah, that's incredible. We had one that we certified on Friday, and he had an approval on Monday. It's basically unheard of. I mean, it's basically a one business day turnaround time. And I unfortunately, we're still trying to tell people, hey, be prepared to wait. Yeah, if it comes in faster, that's awesome. Good on you. Go buy a lottery ticket too. But be prepared to wait, because the last thing we want is people to be expecting, hey, I'm going to get this in 3 days. And then it takes 6 months or whatever, right? Because then we have to field those phone calls. And so set the right expectations up front. And then hopefully you just get lucky, if at all possible. So anyways, yeah, the suppressor thing has been pretty wacky. Scotty went basic black. They're talking about the dagger, the PSA dagger. Because that's what was in stock. I would have gone with the green slide, okay, but it was still out of stock. Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, man, they are good looking guns. I actually kind of like the FDE ones or the gray ones. Gray is kind of an odd choice, but for whatever reason, I think it's kind of cool looking. So I may continue to pay attention to that, see if I can pick one up and try one out. But it's a little bit lower on the very, very short list these days of things I'm eyeing. You guys will laugh. I don't think I said this on the last stream, but for whatever reason, I kind of want to get a Glock 17L, mostly for the memes. I don't know why. I've never had one. I've had, I think, every other 9mm Glock ever offered, but a 17L. And I kind of want one because they look really ridiculous, but I just want to try one. I don't think I've ever shot one or anything like that. Maybe Big Johnson had one that he brought in town. I can't remember, but if he didn't, then I don't think I've ever shot one. So I think that would be really fun. And you guys should make a lot of fun of me for that. I'd be okay with that. So anyway, let's see. Mateo, I'm an odd duck. I actually enjoy the PSA hinge trigger. Even put one on my Gen 5 26. Man, you know, you like what you like. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all. Steve B, I like the smell of hops solvent because it's what I grew up with. Right? Nostalgia. I totally agree with that. Totally agree. Scott 79, the PSA hinge trigger, I'll definitely admit it's better than the Smith & Wesson M&P triggers, but I just prefer a flat face trigger. I agree. I also prefer a flat face trigger whenever possible. In fact, like I'm saying, I've got the PX4 Storm in front of me. It's got the regular, I mean, it's all the LTT stuff, but it's the old school stuff. So it's the curved trigger and everything. I really want to try one of the new ones with the flat trigger and all that kind of thing. I can't justify the cost at this time, but I think it'd be fun at some point because yes, I am a fan of flat triggers when I can get a hold of them. So, and that's ironic coming from someone who also likes CZP01s with crazy curved triggers and things like that. I don't mind those either, but again, flat would be my choice. Let's see. Captain Phil, I can shoot HK LEM triggers, stupid accurate. USP 45, USP 9C, and HK 45, all LEM and all tack drivers. Had a younger guy shoot it, and he had no experience with it at the range, and he range steel, probably range steel, every shot at 30 yards. Nice. Yeah, so you're saying new shooters don't have any bad habits yet, right? So it takes a little while for them to develop the bad habits and then hopefully fix the bad habits. So oftentimes new shooters are the best shooters out there because as long as they're following your instruction, they've got a reasonable grip, reasonable stance, and have a rudimentary idea of what the sights are supposed to be doing and cover the target properly. They're just bang on for a little while, and then things kind of fall apart after that. I see it in new shooting lessons all the time, but that's great. And yeah, the LEM triggers, because it's that light single action pull. I mean, I love them. I think they're great, and I kind of wish my USPs had those. They don't. None of those are the LEM triggers. They're all the standard triggers, but I've done work on all of them. So all SRTs, and I've lowered the trigger spring. I don't know why I can't think of that right now. But anyway, hammer spring, excuse me. I think, like 1 or 2 pounds each. And that seems to be kind of the Goldilocks zone for USPs, in my opinion. It's not quite USP expert to match, but it's pretty close. So anyway, but yeah, I like the LEM triggers as well. Ranger 10 with suppressors flying back makes me wonder if the ATF is up to something. You never know. I mean, anything is always possible, right? They're pretty shifty in that regard. Let's see, Mateo. Everyone has their preferences when it comes to triggers. For myself, I was surprised at how much I enjoy it. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, man. Nothing wrong with that at all. Let's see here. It just went wonky on me. Okay, Captain Phil. I have the older M&P 2.0 compact with the hinge trigger, and it is fine. Shoots lights out. Nice. Yeah. My biggest problem with those triggers, it wasn't so much the hinge itself, it was the reset. I didn't like the fact that there was not a lot of reset, especially on the 1.0s. The 2.0 got better. It absolutely did. So I would certainly take a 2.0 over the 1.0. The 1.0 was anemic. And of course, back then when it first came out, nobody knew any better, right? Smith was doing what they were doing, and everybody liked them, and they did the job. And then you get exposure to some different triggers and various things, and you start to think, oh, okay, I kind of wish this guy would have done something like this guy over here would have done. So, but I get that. So GB, yes, a collab would be fun. Yeah, we'll absolutely talk on that if you're still here. So yeah, we will chat, my friend. We'll chat. Nate, good to see you, my friend. Yeah, we're still here. We're still live streaming from time to time, about every 2 or 3 weeks. So hop on anytime you like, my friend. It's good to see you. Let's see. Parts by Teddy. Yep, I watch GB Guns videos. Good. I'm glad you do. Everybody should. Looney Tune, the piece, and I'm behind. I know I'm behind on this, guys. I'm so sorry, but I like to try and read everything when I can. Looney Tunes, the P30 LEM trigger is not very good at all. The HK45 LEM is very different. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, and my HK45 was a standard. It was not an LEM, if I recall correctly. So yeah, I don't have anything to compare that to. So interesting. Scott 79, I don't know which version of the LEM trigger my P3 or P30 had, but it had to be 12 pounds. What? Yeah. Okay. It's ridiculously heavy to the point I could feel the trigger flexing as I pulled it. So this was like you rack the slide, which kind of pre-cocks the trigger, and then that was the 12-pound pull that you had. That's shocking if that's the case. I mean, I know if you pull the trigger and then you go for a second strike, it's a really, really heavy trigger. It's kind of a crappy trigger at that point in time. But I'm really surprised. I wonder if it was broken or something. I don't know. That seems unusual. I don't know that I've measured the pull weight on the LEMs I have, but I mean, I'd ballpark them at probably 4.5 pounds, somewhere around there, 5 pounds somewhere. Again, ballpark, but anyway. Steve B, the ATF should go away. Absolutely. Appreciate it. Dan O'Neill subbed. Hopefully you're talking about GB. Yeah, it's worth your weight in gold, my friend. Let's see. Scott, I'll second that. Steve B. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I've heard Scott again. I've heard suppressor approvals coming back in 4 hours. Jeez. I haven't quite heard the 4-hour one, but I certainly believe it at this point in time. But again, I think that's going to be an anomaly. I don't think that has staying power. I really don't. Okay. A-Dubs, good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Love that avatar. If the AFT goes away, who will run guns on our dime? Yeah, right. Exactly. A question for the ages, my friend. Stevie, are you seeing a bunch of these panic buyers selling their guns back? No, I have not seen that at all, actually. I haven't. Are you talking about from like the cough days of 2020? I'm assuming, but clarify if I don't have that right. But yeah, no, we talked many times in live streams at that time about seeing a mass influx of used firearms, and no, I really haven't, to be honest with you. I feel like the levels have been about the same. So Target, we had one a few weeks ago that was under 24 hours. Man, that is just bonkers. It is absolutely bonkers. The first one I waited just over a year for. So Scott 79 to 17L is ridiculously long looking, but it probably shoots pretty well. I mean, I don't know. It'd be a fun project gun, kind of tinker with a little bit. They just look so ridiculous. I don't know. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And right now they're kind of out there, so they're not as expensive as they've been in the past. So I don't know. I think it'd be kind of fun. We'll see. We'll see. Dan O'Neill, I always wanted a 17L. They've always seemed to be top dollar. So they're expensive for Glocks for sure. I mean, they generally run around like $700 or so, or more, depending on if they're out there. So yeah, they're a little bit expensive. Nate, there's the 17L at my LGS. I've got my eye on it. Just picked up my very own Gold Digger Talo Special Edition CZ Shape 2. What's a CZ Shape 2? Is that a Shadow 2? Help me understand that, but I'm curious, and congratulations regardless. But yeah, man, 17L. it would be, I don't know, it'd be kind of ridiculous, but kind of fun ridiculous. So anyway, let's see, Captain Phil, converted. Okay, yeah, I converted both my USPs to LEM, bought them DASA. Okay, cool. I have not tried that. I've watched a couple of videos on doing that, and that's I'm not quite ready to go down that road. I have no problem tinkering with like SRTs and USBs and various things like that, but I've not tried to do a conversion from one to another. So I don't know. I might at some point in time. Mateo, a 34 slide on a 19 frame would have been very similar look to the 17L. Yes, I agree with that. But the 17L is even longer. Is it a 6-inch barrel, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Robert Soto, hey everybody, hey, good to see you, Robert. Appreciate you. GB, I'm still here waiting on my video to finish processing. Man, I remember those days for sure. The editing process. So, it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. What was my favorite part of doing the videos back when I was more active? Obviously, interacting with all of you and everybody was paramount. That was the most fun because I learned a lot, and I still do from all of you guys. But then I think the editing process was probably the next most rewarding part of that because it was a challenge to learn a new skill and continue to tweak and try and make it better every time. And then seeing the finished result, because when I would put it together, I would go back and I would watch the whole thing first to scrutinize to make sure everything looked good from an editing perspective. There are times where I watch videos out there and oftentimes of channels that I really like a lot, and I'll see just kind of a glaring error, like they didn't cut at the right time or whatever, or something kind of fell in between, and so there was this nice long segment and a blip of something else, and then a nice long set, right? So if you've done any editing, you know what I'm talking about. But I always thought that was really interesting. That was a kind of a neat therapeutic process, and it took a long time to edit. I mean, it took hours to edit videos. As you guys know, I was not one of those short video creators. So it was quite a bit, but I enjoyed that process. I really did, and kind of miss it, to be honest with you. Pistol Pete, 1911s ruined me for all other triggers. No, I totally get that, man. I totally get it. As you start experiencing nicer and nicer triggers, it's really hard to go backwards. Pop's Quest, good to see you, my friend. OG Gun Tube is live again. Hey, my friend, hope all is well. Brother, I hope all is well with you also. It's so good to see you. Let's see. GB, I theorized the same, that we'd see a flood of post-pandemic used guns on the market, but it didn't seem to happen. That would make me think that they became happy gun owners, but we haven't seen more. It's either that, or maybe they just, kind of put that away as another tool, so to speak, tool in the toolbox, if you will, for a time that they need it, or they just forgot that they had it. There are probably some people out there that just kind of forgot, right? And all of the craziness that we went through in 2020, and all of the ups and downs and unknowns and all the various things, and the masks. God, I hated the masks. I hate with all of my heart. I hated the masks. But all those things that we went through, it is very possible that as people were trying to scramble for toilet paper and ammo and all those other things, they just kind of forgot. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But yeah, there really has not been an influx that I've seen anyway. So GB advocacy. All right, fair enough. Steve B, with you on the 1911 triggers. Yep. No mics. Good to see you, man. Several companies make 17L slides. So like doing a 17L, just kind of making your own kind of Frank and Glock, if you will. Yeah, I mean, that's an option. That's what all the P80s are. So, and I still have all of those. I don't shoot them anymore. Ironically, they're all just sitting there. I should probably part them out and sell the slides, but I just haven't done that. So anyway, let's see. Ranger 10 millimeter. The FN Reflex I just picked up has a hinged trigger. It has a long reset out of the box. By the end of the 500 rounds put through it, I swear it shortened up. It's about a 4-pound pull, real nice. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of FN triggers as a rule. I don't know. They've never gotten me very excited at all. But the Reflex wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was almost like they used a completely different system than they do for the 509, 510, various things like that. So yeah, that's good. I'm glad it shortened up a little bit. I'm not sure geometry-wise how that would happen, but what do I know? That's good either way. Nate, yeah, Shadow 2. Sorry, iPhone spell checker won that battle. Yeah, no, I got you, man. I got you. Congratulations on the pickup either way. Shadow 2, it's still my favorite gun. It really is. I was thinking about this, and I was hoping to have a guest on tonight. I was thinking of a question or two to ask, and I'll pose this question to you guys, handgun wise, because again, I'm more a handgun guy. So if you could pick 5 handguns that are your favorite over time that you've owned and experienced, so not just ones that you know exist but you haven't had any experience, but ones that you really had experience with and or own, 5 handguns. If you could pick 5 to have, what would they be? And you could kind of take away practical application like concealed carry, that sort of thing. Just 5 that you could just keep forever. right? I'd be curious to know what you guys think, and I'll share my thoughts as well with you on that here in a bit. Ranger 10, it's also a hammer fired micro 9. Yeah, absolutely. That it is. Pistol Pete, more new happy gun owners is good news for sure. Well, it is, absolutely. Except I think a lot of them were not happy gun owners. I think they felt an obligation to do that, right? Out of fear. And fear and misunderstanding and all those types of things and poor media and all that. I mean, obviously that's all. We can make a whole live chat about that sort of thing. I don't think any of us want to, but yeah, I think a lot of them probably weren't happy. I remember many walking in the door just being afraid and not being very happy to be there. So I don't know if that turned around and they're happy now. That's great, man. I haven't necessarily seen the numbers at the range for that. But if they are, that's great. Nate, the 17L is a 6.2 barrel, I believe. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a long ass Glock right there. And again, I kind of want one. I want one because they look absolutely ridiculous, and I think that's fun. Captain Phil, I think you could totally handle an LEM USP conversion kit. You're mostly competent. You've met me. If you can do a 92 work, you can do a USB. Okay, fair enough. I'm willing to try anything once. I mean, because I know if I break it, I know a few people that can usually pick up the pieces and put it back together and then yell at me. So that's fair. Maybe I'll do that. I've got a P8, so it's a standard USB, but it's the P8 designation. The trigger on that one is dog snot. All my other USPs are great, but that one is just terrible. And it also is not the regular decocker. It's the decocker safety. You put it down, it decocks and stays as safe. I hate that. I want to decock and have it pop back up, and then if necessary, pop it up to safety, which I think is maybe a V, either 3 or 7 for a USP. I can't remember, but anyway. So if nothing else, I would do a conversion kit that way. But I don't know. Maybe I'll try an LEM. Might be worth it. So anyway. All right, GB, I started out with the enthusiasm for editing, then quickly lost it. Now I mostly just slap it all together. I count on the information, carry the well, I mean, your information's great. So no question, no issue there whatsoever. I don't know. I'm a little bit of a nerd, obviously. So I enjoyed that part of the process. I just thought it was kind of fun and trying new and different things, pulling in the B-roll and the music and the various things like that. I thought it was a lot of fun. Now, obviously, you can get carried away with it, and there are times where hopefully I didn't. I mean, from my perspective, I don't think I did. From others, maybe I did. I don't know. But anyway, I have seen product out there, videos out there, not necessarily in the gun space, but just on YouTube in general, where it's overwhelming and it detracts from the core information. I think that's where it kind of gets away from things. But if it's done tastefully and it's part of the articulation of the product, then I think it's great. I mean, the B-roll, that was something I really enjoyed. Getting those close-up photos. So as you're talking about that part of it, it has to be relevant, right? So as you're talking about the grip texture or whatever, being able to really get in close so people can appreciate what you're talking about, I enjoy that. I really do. So now I feel like I need to make a video again. Damn it. Anyway, all right. Ranger 10. Wow, my Glock 40 10 millimeter is a 6.1 barrel. Man, yeah, the 17L and the 24L, man, those things are long guns. Is it 24L or just 24? Maybe it's just 24. Mateo is saying 6.02. So it really is a 6-inch barrel. So either way, long barrel. Mateo, yeah, the 20 and 21 are slightly longer, but it makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. Robert Soto, just a question. Anyone from Kansas? And if so, can you recommend a gun shop? I'm in Overland Park. Robert, come see me at Centerfire Shooting Sports. Olathe, a few minutes away. Come see me. Or anyone else out there. I'm only there a little bit, but yeah, Centerfire Shooting Sports. Tell them I said hello. They're awesome. Seriously. I don't say that, but I am biased, of course, because I do work there a little bit, but I was also a member there and did all the videos there and everything. And that was just I thought they were amazing. So yeah, go to Centerfire, please. Plus they're in anywhere else around. So there you go. No mics. It's hard to go backward on triggers. Tonight I am ordering stock Smith revolver springs to return my competition guns to be able to use something other than federal primers. Okay, cool. That's another thing I've never done that I would like to do is work on revolvers a little bit. I think that'd be fun to tinker with. And then 1911s. I've also steered away from 1911s, and I need to get into that. So I may need to get a project on like a T-sauce or something that I wouldn't feel bad if I broke it, which is likely to happen. Regardless of Captain Phil's faith in me. But I think it'd be fun to give that a whirl as well. So I may have to do that. Now that I have a new gunsmithing station put together and everything, I might need to do that. Stevie, we had to add 3 gun safety classes a week, 2020 through 2023. Absolutely. I mean, that's really the whole reason I became an instructor, an actual instructor. We had such a need. We didn't have enough instructors on staff to be able to support the demand. And so I raised my hand and said, I'll help. And I'm still instructing. Now, the demand has gone way down, so I don't do it as often as I used to. Maybe probably 2 or 3 lessons a month now, but it used to be 2 or 3 a week minimum. So yeah, that's a big difference for sure. But I still enjoy it. It's still fun mostly. Pistol Pete, I hated the masks and the dirty looks I would get in the store for not following the direction arrows on the floor. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and yet the dots that you had to stand on and everything. Man, we became Pavlov's dog really fast. Yeah, I don't miss those times at all. Yeah. Well, that's one for the history books though, for sure. Target, I need to get you out to Great Plains, get you into long range precision as well. Game, man. I've done a little bit of what I consider long range shooting. Went out to Fort Scott years ago with some of the guys at Fort Scott Munition. Had a great time. That's a neat group of people, by the way. Really fun crowd. And they got me to shoot some pretty interesting rifles, some cobbled together rifles by guys that know how to do it. And it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I'd love to do a little bit more long range stuff. I will be terrible, FYI, but I'd love to try it. So let's see, Mateo. At least 2 of my choices would be revolvers. Okay, fair enough. Captain Phil, Beretta 92, USP, SIG 226, 1911, and CZ 75. Fantastic list. That's a classic list right there for sure. Adam B, I don't know what that means. That's probably if one of the moderators want to keep an eye on that, that'd be great. Appreciate it. Nate, my top 5 handguns, CZ Shadow 2 Gold Digger, number 2 Glock 19 Gen 5, okay, number 3 Springfield Armory Emissary 1911 9mm, okay, number 4 Beretta LTT PX4 Storm Compact, that's one of mine, and number 5 Colt Python 3-inch, okay. Very, very cool. Good list, man. You guys are awesome. Steve B. Smith & Wesson model 29, a classic. Wilson Combat 1911, very good. I think that would be an Honest Outlaw pick, too. I think that would probably be one of his top 5 as well. And Shadow 2 would be one of his top 5. It's one of my top 5. Ruger Red Hawk and the Colt Python. Nice. Looney Tune Portage Shield Plus 3.1. Interesting. That's cool, man. Platypus, okay, I'm still waiting on mine. Don't tease me. LCP Max, HK45 LEM, and ported M&P 5-inch PC. Very, very cool. Good list. GB Gunch, yes, make another video. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I've been rolling around some ideas in my head, so I don't know. The platypus might be the impetus for some videos, just for funsies. So I don't know. We'll see. All right, so Mateo, I enjoy working on revolvers. The intricacies help keep it interesting. Very, very cool. Well, I'll give you my list real quick. So I thought about this a little bit. So I'd say CZ Shadow 2. That's a pretty easy number 1. Although the Dan Wesson DWX would be number 2 at this point in time, and the full size, not the compact. Even though I do like the compact a lot. Actually, I like it a little bit better than the Shadow 2 compact, actually. But then the Dan Wesson Guardian would probably be my 3rd. I just think that's an extraordinary firearm. 1911 just in general would fill that space, but the Guardian is probably my favorite of the bunch right there. That's a tough toss-up because I grew up on Colt 45s, 70 series Colt 45s. But yeah, the Guardian's great. PX4 Storm, then probably would be number 4. I just think it's such a great gun and so so misunderstood in the gun community. I think a little bit, sort of the redheaded stepchild, unfortunately, which I really think is a misstep. Number 5 could span a lot of things. I mean, like SIG 226, that would be right up there. USB, any USB, right up there. So number 5 is really tough. However, I settled on the Cheetah, the Beretta Cheetah, the whole Cheetah series, and I have them all except for the 83 because I don't think they've ever been in the U.S. that I know of. And I love them. In fact, I've got the 84 sitting right next to me, and they are just awesome guns. I love them. They make me smile all the time. So that would probably be my number 5. But again, number 5 would be kind of a it would fluctuate from time to time depending on my mood. So anyway, all right, no mics. If you want to work with revolvers, stick with Smiths. Okay, good advice. Good advice. Scott 79, this is an expensive month for me. I picked up an SGL 31 AK. There was 35K or 3.5K. Wow. One of the Gearson Untouchables, 1911 and the PSA Micro Dagger. Yeah, it's an expensive month for you for sure. Yeah, I've had to pump the brakes on some of that for a little while. So I'm just waiting for the platypus. That's all I'm waiting for at this time. Dave Gass, good to see you, man. Good to see you. I had an Apex flat face trigger put on my M&P 2.0 full size. Incredible upgrade. Yeah, best upgrade ever. I totally agree. Yeah, that's and I've been saying that going back years and years. I think that turns I don't know, a reasonable gun into an extraordinary gun for sure. Nash, do you offer concealed carry classes? I want to get my CCW. I'm in Lawrence. We absolutely do. We do it twice a month on Saturdays, all day long. So it'd be a 9 to 5 course. Just go on the website, centerfireshootingsports.com, and take a look. Not trying to plug Centerfire, but just answering a question. Hopefully you guys understand that. But it's a good class and good instructors. So yeah, and the license is worth it. Regardless of where you are, the license is worth getting. Even in a constitutional carry state, the license is a good thing to have. So thanks for the question. Pistol Pete agrees. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Pistol Pete, Shadow 1 or 2. Ooh, Shadow 1. Wow, nice. DWX full size, we're so in sync. Valcourts and Scorpion, that's very cool. 1911 and 45. Look at us go. 10 Folio limited. Wow, I didn't see that coming. That's cool, man. Okay, good list. Good list. We're so simpatico. I like it. Let's see, Nash. I'd get the Dan Wesson DWX if it came with an optics guy. Yeah, I'm not an optics guy, so it's not a big deal to me. But I get that. I totally get it. And I know that some people, for the compact, pretty up in arms with the fact that it didn't have a rail. I don't know. For me, it's more of a range firearm, not one that I would ever carry. I wouldn't carry a $2,000, $2,500 gun personally. So the rail doesn't do anything for me other than aesthetic. And so I don't know. It's the same thing I feel about the P226, like the P226 carry. I like it exactly the way it is because I feel like it's a classy firearm. It doesn't need the rail. It doesn't need the optics cut. It's just a classy, classic firearm. So I like the P210 a lot. In fact, that was, if I had like a top 10 list, it would probably be on the top 10. Any of the 210s. They are such great guns. All right, Mateo, if Colt ever puts out a 5-inch Anaconda like they did for the Python, it would fill a third spot out of my 5. My 3-inch, and unfortunately the little heart thing is covering that up. My 3-inch King Cobra and my 5-inch Python would be the other. Okay, fair enough. Oh, man, that's good stuff right there. Testing, I never worry about a rail on a carry. Okay, Joe V here. What's up, Joe? Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, everybody's a little bit different about that. I mean, more and more people are putting gadgets and gizmos and accessories on their firearms. And again, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. There are pros and cons to everything, right? And there are certainly pros to having a light handy. It's one of those things hopefully you never need, but it's nice to have if you do need it. I carry just a flashlight with me. That just seems to work a little bit better for me personally. But yeah, I totally get it. Totally get it. No mics. Mateo, 3 and 5-inch revolvers are my cup of tea also. Nice. Nice. Yeah, it's so funny. There are certainly people out there that say that revolvers And 1911s have had their day, and they need to be kind of swept under the rug a little bit of things of years past. I don't believe that to be true. I really don't. Now, I think there are practical applications for various things, and I'm probably not going to look to a revolver for carry under most circumstances. Personal choice, of course. But their revolvers are great guns. They really are. And they have a lot of practical applications. So, Mateo, I have an optic on my Python. Love it. Nice, nice. Ranger 10, top 5. OG P226 that I carried in the military. Cool, cool. CZ Shadow 2 Orange. Nice. The SIG X10. Wow. AXG Legion and the FM509T. All right. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. That's pretty cool. So I was talking with somebody about the Shadow 2 Orange the other day because he was really interested in that. And I was like, it's a phenomenal gun. I had one. I do not have it anymore, but I did have one. I liked it. My one hang up with the Shadow 2 Orange is the bushing. I hated the bushing, to be honest with you, especially the taking apart of the gun. Now, I mean, I grew up on 1911, so I'm no stranger to bushing disassembly on firearms by any stretch. But I felt like the Shadow 2 was not intuitive, and it worked a little bit different. It was a little bit quirky versus a 1911, which is still quirky to the outsider looking in. But if you're used to them, you're used to them. It's no big deal. But I was kind of the opinion, like, just get a regular one, right? But the Shadow 2 Orange, I mean, as far as shooting accuracy and the trigger's just a hair better, I think, than a standard Shadow 2. So you do get that, and they are just uber accurate. But yeah, I struggled with that. I struggled with that bushing, and that's probably a lazy thing more than anything else. It is what it is. Mateo, thank you so much, buddy. Really appreciate the super chat. That's very, very nice of you. Really appreciate it. You guys are amazing. You really are. Let's see. Mateo, no, Mike's man after my own heart. Yeah. All right. And Joe, I'm going to call you testing just because it's sitting in front of me. Hope you don't mind. But I like my 1911-esque SIG P238 and P238 for easy EDC. Yeah. Single action triggers make this crappy shooter much better. That's good, man. That's good. Yeah, the 938's a good gun, and the 238. I actually like the 238 better, but I'm kind of a 380 geek, so I appreciate them. No, Mike's, I would never argue that a revolver is a superior defensive choice unless extra power is needed for some reason, but revolvers are just damn fun to shoot. Yeah, yeah. Now, like for a backup, in fact, I've got a buddy who picked up a little Smith & Wesson Airweight, like J-frame, I'm sure, but a little Airweight. I mean, when they say Airweight, they mean it. That thing doesn't weigh anything at all. I mean, if it weighs, I don't know, 18 ounces, I'd be shocked. So that's a great backup. Again, I would not depend on that as my primary because it's only got 5 rounds in it, regardless of the power. Now that was 38 special only, but anyway, again, I mean, that thing was just silly light. It really was. Nash, I wouldn't want optics for the Dan Wesson to use for competition shooting. That makes sense. No shot, I would carry it. Yeah, considering a Shadow instead, but my understanding is the Dan Wesson is a better overall gun. A lot of it depends on double action, single action, or single action only. The ergonomics are pretty darn close, but I mean, they are neck and neck. And I'm referring to the compacts only at this point in time. The full size may be a little bit different, but I don't know. I think they're both great. Yes, I do like the DWX compact just a little bit better. And I think it all comes down to ergonomics for me. The ergonomics on the compact are squared away in my hand. So I don't know. I kind of like that quite a bit. Scott 79, CCP01 steel frame. Oh, man. I wish I had one of those. Very jealous right now. SPO1 tactical. Yeah, SPO1 was another thing I was thinking about quite a bit. That is definitely in the top 10, top 15 for me for sure. Rock Island Ultra Tac 6-inch 10mm. Wow, nice. Glock 34 Gen 5 and a CZ97 BD. Good list. I like that list a lot. Pistol P degrees. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's a good list. Looney Tune, what is the one pistol you despise that everyone else says is great? Despise is a strong word. Can we change that into don't get into? Is that a possibility at all? Despise. The only one, well, there are a couple, I suppose, that I could say I despise. The cars. If you guys are KHAR, whatever it was, or KAHR, whatever it was, the car guns, they were all the rage back, I don't know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it was. That long double action, they were smooth, but they were long, heavy double action triggers. I owned 2 or 3 of those things because, again, I wanted to ride the train just like everybody else. And of course, Hickok talked about them and everything. I don't know. I think I maybe reached the age of reason when it comes to car firearms, and I finally said these things are dumpster fires, in my opinion. I could not get behind them. I could not shoot them very well. So that was one that I personally despise. I know some other people that love them. That's great. They did not mix well with me. The other one is the Arex Delta. I hated that gun. I reviewed that one. Was not very kind to that gun. I try not to be disparaging or really negative, as you guys know that. But I did not like it. I thought it was more of a toy than a gun. So that's nothing. My good buddy at Centerfire still has my old Arex Delta. He likes it. So obviously it's everybody's got kind of a different thing with that, but not my cup of tea by any stretch. So anyway, good question, Looney. Mateo, if you like the 380, G25 is an absolute hoot to shoot. I've got one, brother. I love it. I absolutely love it. The G25 is fantastic. It really is. More people should be talking about the Glock 25, by the way. Testing, Joe. Thanks, man. Really appreciate you. I'm a 380 geek as well. And here's for all the help over the years. Since I can't tip you at the range, well, hey, listen, man. I appreciate you as well. We always look forward to seeing you. So, and everybody at the range has fun when you're there. So that's good. You keep everybody smiling and entertained. So anyways, really appreciate you, brother. Let's see. Range 10, it's good. 2 Scott 79. I have the SPO1 Tactical. Also, it's a great gun. Would be my honorable mention list. Yeah, SPO1's phenomenal gun. Especially if you don't want to dip into the Shadow 2. To me, the SPO1 is kind of the Shadow 2's younger cousin. That's still a phenomenal firearm. It's in the family. It's got all the genes and everything, just not quite as big, as tanky, I guess, as the Shadow 2 in terms of competition setup. It's a little bit more of a practical firearm, but it's tremendous. And if you do any trigger work on them, you can get them really squared away. Cap Phil, I have a Smith 642 airweight, 38 plus P that I ankle carry at work. Yeah, man. And I bet you don't notice it's there at all because it doesn't weigh anything. The only problem is if there's a subtle breeze, that gun's gone. I mean, it really doesn't weigh anything at all. Pistol Pete, Glock, pick a number, Looney Tune. Mateo, I want a Smith 640. Yeah. That's funny. Let's see. Testing. Kara was the range. I hate trigger. Car. You're trying to say car. Yeah, I'm sure it's the the autocorrect. But car was the range for sure. Yeah, everybody was all about them. We'll go for a few more minutes, by the way, guys. Looney, mine is a SIG P250, by the way. I want to yeet that thing every time I see one. It's funny. I am back and forth on the SP 2022. There are days I really like it. There are days I think it's really just hot garbage. And it all comes down to the trigger. Dry firing, I don't really mind it very much. But that thing goes way back there. I mean, it is all the way back at the end of the housing, the back of the housing, however you want to say it, back of the trigger guard. I mean, it's a little bit deceptive even on single action. But I like the setup quite a bit. So I still have one, but it's probably my least favorite firearm in the collection at this point in time. And it would probably be fodder should it be necessary. But again, I feel like it's, it's the inexpensive version of the P226, P229, whatever. But yeah, the SP 2022, I go back and forth on that. I've never owned a P250, but I think I've played around with one, dry fired one a little bit. I don't recall the experience on that, but I've heard a lot of people say the same thing. Scott, I wish someone would put the Medusa revolver back in production. So many different calibers you can shoot out of it. Okay, the Medusa, yeah, I've never seen one. I think I've seen pictures of a Medusa. They were expensive, weren't they? If I'm not mistaken. Mateo, I won't own another car. Yeah, it's just not my cup of tea. GB, you didn't like the Delta. Are you talking Gen 1 or Gen 1? Gen 1. I've never seen or touched a Gen 2. I think they made a lot of improvements on it. In my opinion, much needed. So I've never experienced a Gen 2, but the Gen 1 to me was awful. And I've got some passion behind that. And I don't normally have that kind of passion. I'm usually pretty forgiving. But that one just, which too bad. I was really looking forward to, but now I got it in hand and I had ordered it already. So I was kind of stuck with it. I was like, oh, well, I'll make a video, I guess. No, Mike, I have a car 45 you can have. It's impossible to put together after field stripping without screwing up the gun. Hard pass. Hard pass. Target, I'll probably get some heat for this. I don't like Glocks. No, you won't get any heat here, man. Everybody's got their own opinion. There's no shame in that whatsoever. I'm not a big Glock champion as well. I recognize their place in the world and the things that they've done for the industry over the years. And if somebody gave me one and said, this is it, this is all you've got, I'd be okay with that. However, I would insist that it would be a 26 because I think that's the best Glock they ever made. It can do everything. I'm weird, but I like the 26. But otherwise, I totally get it, man. There's no shame in that whatsoever. The beauty is there are a lot of different options. So there are a lot of people that don't like, HKs or SIGs or whatever it is, and they can find something else and get them squared away. So, and I've said squared away 3 times tonight. I'm going to try not to say that again. I don't know where that came from. All right, let's see. We'll do a couple more questions here real quick. We're going a little longer than normal, but what an incredible conversation going on here. So I kind of don't want to leave. Let's see. Paul Howell, let's see. I was not a fan of the Delta, but the Gen 2 was a winner in my book. Totally a better gun. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I haven't seen one. I mean, I think I saw a video or two, but I've never touched one. And seeing a video to me doesn't count. I want to have it in hand. I want to actually experience it at least a little bit. Let's see, Brian, I need to leave New York. I'm not going to be buying another gun here. The rules are outrageous. Yeah, you ought to hear 1776 talk about it, man. We'll do some more Three Guys gun chats. We've been talking about that. So you get him on a roll. He will talk about that. So anyway, testing Joe. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Nash, how do you feel about the Daniel Defense Mark 18 as a crap hit the fan gun? Along those lines, how do you feel about battery-powered sights, EOTech as an option to pair it with? I mean, Daniel Defense, that's a good rifle. I would take that or BCM probably. Those would be 2 of my choices. I'm not a rifle guy, so I'm not an expert. Please understand that I'm coming at it from more just kind of mid-level consumer knowledge of those things. I mean, we've got Daniel Defenses at Centerfire, so I've certainly shot them. But yeah, I think it's a great gun. EOTechs are fine as well. So again, I don't have a need for something quite that robust, to be honest with you. Now I do run Trijicon MROs. I've got an MRO on my B&T APC 9K, and that's kind of my very small bag, oh crap, let's get out of here right now choice. And so I've got the MRO on that, and it seems to do pretty well. But EOTech it's a good option for sure. Let's see. Testing, I like the G25, but nowadays just feel a little thick. Yeah, well, Glocks are a little bit thick, but yeah, I get it though. No, Mike's good night for me here. I love the revolvers, hate the cars, and thought I shoot and have Glocks. I understood the hate or understand the hate. Yeah, bad night for my spelling. Walk it off, brother. Walk it off. Bad night for my reading as well. But thank you very much. Let's see, Scott 79. I hate new production Smith and Wesson revolvers. I hate that sleeve barrel they're using. I've seen way too many QC issues. Yeah, I've heard that before on several occasions, actually. Dave Gass, it's hard having 2 expensive hobbies, guns and guitars, man. No joke. No joke. No, Mike's Scott, the biggest 2 A word joke when I was shooting I-Core was performance center. That's funny. Mateo, I also sent my other 3-inch Casey or King Cobra to Colt to get converted to DAO. Okay. Nate, I've got a major case of the 1Cs for the new SIG 226 Legion X5 SAO. Any of the X5s are great. And I know they're not the German version, they're the American version, but they are fantastic firearms. I mean, I've got one of the stainless ones with the wood grips. It's a Safe Queen. I've never shot it, but I do shoot my X5 Legion, and I love it. It's a phenomenal firearm. It's expensive. It's a big gun, but it shoots like a dream, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, if you're down with that, I would say go for it. Let's see. It's funny. Since Honest posted his video on that firearm, I've had a lot of people ask about it at Centerfire. It's amazing the amount of influence YouTube, social media, and I'm not saying just Honest, but really a lot of people, how much influence they have on the market, and how many people are paying attention. I mean, I think it's kind of cool. It's kind of an interesting study, to be honest with you. All right, I'm going to skip around a little bit, grab a couple more comments, and then we probably ought to call it. It's 8:15. Let's see. Nash, Glock equals strictly utilitarian. I hate that word because I can never say it right. Not a fun gun. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I really would. Testing. Canic nowadays are impressive for the money if you like striker-fired polymer. I agree with that as well. Ranger 10, great chat, KS. Thanks for starting these back up. Thanks for showing up. Absolutely. This is so much fun. I'm sorry we didn't do it for a long time. So I want to kind of build this back up a little bit. Let's see, Scott. Oh, we've heard 1776 bitch about being in New York. Yes, we have. Oh my gosh, that was really funny. GB, so you've probably already gone, but thank you very much, man. Great to see you. We will talk very, very soon. I will have you on this. Let's see. CR7. I'm going to call you CR7. I hope that's okay. Thoughts on SIG X Carry versus X Compact? Well, they don't really do the X Carry anymore. I guess you can kind of Frankenstein them together, but didn't they kind of discontinue the actual X Carry unless it was law enforcement, or at least they had done that for a while? I could be out of touch on that one, but I like the X Compact quite a bit. I liked them both. I didn't have a problem with either one. The X Carry, I mean, if you have smaller hands, the X Compact is going to be the way to go, just because that grip circumference is a little smaller. It's actually at Centerfire, one of the guns that our female shooters really like and gravitate towards, just because, again, there's just a little bit more to be able to grab onto. So thoughts on that? Let's see. Ghost. Let's see. Do you still collect third? Do you mean like some of the old Smith & Wesson semi-autos? I still have some. I'm not actively collecting at this time. I kind of got a little out of control with those and thinned it out a lot, just because there were duplicates of various things and they kind of became Safe Queens. And so I still love them. I still do. They are icons, and I will never part ways with the 915 because it was the first gun I ever bought when I turned 21. A million years ago. So anyway, yeah, I still love them, but I'm not actively collecting them anymore. So at least for the time being. Range 10, everybody hit the thumbs up. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. You guys are so great. Paul Howe, great live stream. Got to run though. Good night. Thanks for the chat. Okay, this is a great time to end it. You guys are incredible. Thanks so much for hanging in there and having a great conversation. I love this, man. This is so much fun. So we'll do this again in a couple weeks, and again, we'll start having some more people on. We're going to start doing more three guys gun chats again. We've already talked about that, so look for that as well. Probably primarily on Big Johnson's channel. However, we might spread the wealth a little bit depending on if everybody can kind of agree on that. But anyways. Hope to see you guys there, and we'll start having some more guests out here as well. So be safe. You guys have a great week, and I will talk with you very soon. Thanks so much again.